Folks, well, we'll go ahead and get things started here as the last couple of stragglers join us. Thank you all for joining us today. As I'm hopeful that everyone is aware, we are officially kicking off Keystone Space's first year of its innovation challenge. So thank you all for joining our webinar as we share a little bit of information about the challenge for participants or any interested folks. I will also put the plug in early on. Please feel free to share any information about this challenge to anyone that you think might be interested. We will certainly be sharing this recording after the fact, and I would absolutely encourage you to share this with any folks that you think would be interested in either sharing the word about the challenge or themselves participating as well. We're really looking forward at making this first year a successful year, and we're excited to have all of you be a part of that. With that being said, just a couple of housekeeping items. So everyone on the call is muted upon entry, except for the folks whose lovely faces that you can see here. If you have any questions at any point, you should be able to access the Q&A section of the Zoom webinar platform. Please feel free to go ahead and put those questions in there. I do ask that you keep those questions limited to the scope of the Innovation Challenge themselves. We will share some time at the end specifically to answer those questions. But if you have any questions in the meantime, as we go through items, please feel free to go ahead and pop those in and we'll get to those at the end. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and again, welcome you all and thank you all for participating today. And I'm going to go ahead and pass things off to Jennifer to give a couple of remarks on behalf of both BFTDA as well as the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Thanks, Zoe. Hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer Leinbach. I oversee DCED's Technology Investment Office, and I also serve as the Executive Director of the Ben Franklin Technology Development Authority. That's a mouthful. So let's just shorten that right away to BFTDA, and you'll know what I'm talking about. The BFTDA stands as a beacon of innovation and entrepreneurship in the realm of economic development. Established with a mission to foster the growth of technology-based enterprises in Pennsylvania, it provides critical funding, resources, and strategic guidance as it seeks to bridge the gap between research and commercialization, empowering startups and established companies alike to harness cutting-edge technologies. Through collaboration with academic institutions, industry leaders, and government entities, the BFTDA cultivates an ecosystem that nurtures creativity, drives job creation, and enhances the competitiveness of the regional economy. As we navigate the rapidly evolving technological landscape, the BFTDA remains committed to supporting innovators and entrepreneurs, ensuring that Pennsylvania remains at the forefront of technological advancement and economic prosperity. Pennsylvania's space ecosystem is large and diverse, rooted in our legacy of innovation and energized by our growing space economy and highly educated workforce. The research, development, and innovation coming from Pennsylvania's world-renowned academic institutions is leading the way in the use of robotics, autonomy, AI and machine learning, advanced manufacturing, and materials and life science research in space. Pennsylvania's dedicated Keystone Space Innovation Center is fostering collaboration across the state and region. We are proud to sponsor this innovation challenge and eagerly look forward to the ideas, the projects, and the impact this challenge will bring.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jen, as well. Thank you again to the entire Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and DCD team. As you mentioned, this opportunity and this challenge overall was financed in part by a grant from the DCD team. So I'd like to again express our utmost appreciation and thanks for making this possible. I know that the entire innovation community in Pennsylvania and ultimately the tri-state is incredibly appreciative for your continued commitment and to support to making these opportunities possible. I'd now like to hand things off to Joyce at Innovation Works to say a few words as well.
Thank you, Zoe, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Joyce Howard. I'm the Business Development Manager here at Innovation Works. And for those of you who are new to IW, let me just give you a little background. We are one of the most active seed stage investors in the country, investing in early stage dollars in software, hardware, and life science companies. And we are proud to be one of the most active investors in the Commonwealth. IW is one of 4 of the Ben Franklin Technology Partners. a strategic initiative that spans the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. The comprehensive network ensures entrepreneurs across the state have access to essential capital, expertise, and strategic partnerships and connections. Our mandate is to strengthen the state's economy with resilience and identify high potential companies that generate skilled employment opportunities and advanced technologies with innovation in various sectors. So companies selected for our portfolio have benefited from comprehensive support, including access to our internal expertise, an established mentor network, and connections to prospective investors and clients and customers. This support ecosystem has proven instrumental in our ability to encourage and expand and accelerate company growth since 1983. We are thrilled to partner with the Keystone Space Collaborative in launching this challenge, and we're excited that our entrepreneurial service teams will be able to serve as mentors to those who are interested in applying by offering their business expertise through office hours and other supports. The challenge represents a significant opportunity for emerging companies to accelerate their ideas and their development in the space sector, and we strongly encourage qualified founders to participate and apply. Thank you, and we look forward to working alongside with you in this wonderful challenge.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Joyce. And thank you again to the entire Innovation Works team. Truly could not have done this without you all. I really appreciate, your partnership with IW and Keystone Space really sees a fantastic future with this program, in particular with your support. So thank you all again for that. At this time now, I'd like to go ahead and hand things off to my partner here at Keystone Space, board member Jonathan Bulk, if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit more about the Innovation Challenge and providing some insights for the folks on the call today. And I will add one other quick caveat before I let you start. For any of the folks who joined a little bit late here, please feel free to pop questions in at any time during the chat. We'll either pause and answer those during the presentation, or there's also going to be time reserved at the end as well. Thanks so much. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Thanks, Zoe. And also like to echo my thanks to Jennifer and Joyce for their support in this through the funding and collaboration with DCED and IW. I know with the folks online right now, I'm sure there's a lot of you who are potential participants in this, but also you might know participants in this. So hopefully if you're a contestant or participant, you find this informative on how to proceed in going about the process. But if you're just there for interest, you want to learn more about it, hopefully you find it informative, where you can maybe spread the word to people you might know who might be potential contestants or participants, because we really want this to be as strong a submission and strong as many quality business plans that we can receive for the challenge. So I encourage you again to, if you think folks that this might be a good fit for, feel free to share with them. And as Zoe said, we will have this webinar will be posted, and also the slides will be available as well through the Keystone Space webpage. So if some of you attended the Keystone conference, I went through some of this kind of very high level. I'll take a little more time here to go into some more detail, especially kind of the sections where we kind of focus on the scope of the challenge. What can you do? What are the relevant areas that we're focused on? So Keystone Space Innovation, this challenge is a really way to identify innovative startups in the state of Pennsylvania. As we mentioned in the past, this is focused right now in the state of Pennsylvania. We hope that will expand in coming iterations, but we really feel startups are a great way to grow the space ecosystem in Pennsylvania and the region. So we figure this is a great way to help seed that and help get those folks on the map and get them going to really identify some great space technologies or how they can utilize space to advance whatever type of business they're in. As I get through some of these slides, you kind of understand I really mean every single type of business that a startup might focus on. Next slide. So just some high-level incentives. We are giving awards up to $50,000. That's the maximum award. We'll be giving multiple $50,000 awards and some $25,000 awards. Obviously, there will be getting funding for your startup or your ideas, obviously a great incentive, but just going through the process, you will benefit from having access to expert coaching, getting interacting with mentors, interacting with potential investors, and kind of being on the map. As someone who's been involved in a lot of these innovation challenges, even companies that might necessarily win the prize or the prize is do benefit from it and then go on to future success just because of the network and the people they meet throughout this process. And the folks that we have through our team, through the mentors, through IW, through DCED, through investors we're going to be engaged with, it's going to be a great opportunity to for your startup or for your idea to go forward as best it can. Next slide. So I'm going to talk about the two main areas of business plans that we're looking at. The first one will be a lot quicker than the second because the first one right here is pretty straightforward. Commercial space technology concepts. So general aerospace technology, how can we utilize space, all altitudes of space for thinking technology that goes in low Earth orbit, geo, a lunar environment, a Martian environment, deep space. It's really kind of a anything goes. And if you go to the next slide, Zoe, I have a list of these are just suggested topics. These are some of the top areas of focus that NASA has for their technology priorities. It is by no means exhaustive, but you can kind of see all the different things we're talking here and all the different environments this could apply to. So again, this is just an initial kind of brain dump here, but if if you feel there's a need for your space technology, it'll fit under this category. And then if we go to the next one, this will take a little more, it's not quite as intuitive, but commercial R&D. And I have this is kind of my area of focus in my work and what I've done in my career. But microgravity research is it has a lot of strong terrestrial applications. There's been a lot of work done, I'm sure everybody knows, on the space shuttle and now on the ISS over the last 20 plus years. And now there will be commercial space stations that will be coming online soon where that type of research will continue. And we're also seeing the investigators who utilize space to do microgravity research in all different types of disciplines. There's academic research, there's government research, but there's especially commercial research, and especially with startups. We've seen a lot of great success stories with startups who want to utilize the space environment to advance their technology for terrestrial purposes. And in the coming slides, I'm going to go into kind of the more, not too detailed, but just kind of give you a more kind of clearer picture of why that might be beneficial, no matter what type of research, what type of science, what type of technology or industry you're focused on. So if we go to the next slide, so why research in LEO means low Earth orbit. That's the altitude that the ISS is in. A lot of satellites and free flyers and all these commercial space stations will be going into in the coming years. So kind of keeping it at very kind of fundamental principles. If you have a process, whether it's a manufacturing process, a biological process, a chemical process, different forces affect it. Some are governed by gravity, some aren't, but combined, they impact how your system behaves, what it does, what you don't want it to do. So in the space environment, obviously with gravity being very suppressed, there are certain forces like convection, buoyancy, sedimentation that really aren't there. So it gives you a really great idea to see how do these non-gravitational forces that play a role in a system behave? Diffusion, conduction, surface tension. These are forces that are important. They drive how a system behaves, how a manufacturing process goes, how a material forms, but you're not really able to isolate it to get an understanding of, hey, what's the role here? So that's why a lot of work is done in the space environment. And again, these focus on biological systems, physical systems, chemical systems, material processes, et cetera. So microgravity is a real key component to why a lot of research goes to space, to see how does the lack of gravity play a role in whatever I have in my experiment, my system, my process, et cetera. In addition to that, another thing that investigators go to space, fly research to space too, is to look at that space environment. Space is a pure vacuum. It has rapid thermal cycling. It has high levels of atomic oxygen exposure. So it's a great way to really test materials, test products, test systems to see how do they degrade, why do they fail in an extreme environment, whether they're going to be used in space or an extreme environment on Earth. So the combination of those two factors are really what draw us to low Earth orbit. So you see here on the box on the left, all these research topics. I mean, these are probably subjects you learned if you had a science or engineering discipline, a lot of research that NASA's done, the National Lab has done, utilizing the ISS, utilizing shuttle, has fallen under these areas. As I'm sure I'm sure most of you here realize those research areas apply to the terrestrial industries you see on the right. And those terrestrial industries, again, are aside from aerospace, they're non-space industries, but they really play a role. They can benefit from utilizing space. And these industries here, pharmaceuticals, that's in the $1 trillion of market size now. Semiconductors, I think, is approaching that. All these other ones are multi-billions, hundreds of billions of dollars in market size. So space can really impact these terrestrial industries. And we are seeing commercial companies, both large and the startup side, who want to utilize the space environment to advance their technology and then to even take the next step, which you go to the next slide. Hopefully that's the next slide. Yes, manufacturing in space. So going back to those first principles, gravity gets in the way of the manufacturing process on the ground in a lot of different ways. No matter what type of material you manufacture, whether it's a drug, whether it's a semiconductor, whether it's a metal alloy, defects are what really drive material performance. We always want to make the next generation, the next iteration of the next pharmaceutical drug, the next semiconductor material, the next one that's more faster, more heat resistant, smaller, more flexible, the material that lasts longer, can withstand a better load, the drug that has a higher efficacy. And it really comes down to material defects driving those performances. So in many cases, you can't overcome what gravity does in ground-based manufacturing processes. So we are starting to see companies, including startups, that want to utilize the space environment, the microgravity environment, the vacuum environment to grow more defect-free materials or manufacture more defect-free materials. And that might be the entire material process, but it could also be a specific step. For those of you in the semiconductor industry, that manufacturing process is hundreds and hundreds of steps. There might be a couple where, hey, gravity really makes an impact, and by going to an environment where that's not the case, or more of a pure vacuum environment, we can overcome the limit we have with defects and maybe overcome that and create a more novel or more defect-free or better performing semiconductor material or other type of material. So we are starting to see across the commercial space environment. With ISS right now, it's more of a test bed, but these commercial space stations, these commercial platforms, there's multiple examples, and we'll talk about those here, I think, in a couple slides from now, where these facilities are being developed for companies to really manufacture things in space. And obviously, there's a practicality of it. You're not going to manufacture, at least right now, build an entire airplane or a car, but there are certain, as you see here in the box in the lower right, low mass, low volume, high value materials like pharmaceuticals, like semiconductors, et cetera, other protein crystals that are used in drug development, and then obviously that are impacted by defects. So that's kind of the next generation, the next step beyond microgravity research in space. So that's something that we're thinking about. And as you think about potential business plan ideas, potentially think about manufacturing your product in space. Next slide. So there's a lot of wording here. I won't get into it too much. And again, these slides in the webinar will be made available on the website. But you see these major terrestrial industries, and there's a lot of applications that can benefit from that microgravity, that space environment. A lot of types of companies, again, including startups that are focused on medical devices, stem cell therapies, vaccine production, pharmaceuticals on the life sciences side. And there's a lot of benefits, Earth benefits, where you can look at how do things form? How can we grow scaffolding? How can we observe disease modeling in space? Can that apply to can we learn something that can be applied to Earth? So in all these cases, outcomes you see, whether it's through the pharma side, the life science side, the food and ag side, that's another large terrestrial market. Advanced materials, I talked about semiconductors, glasses, alloys, et cetera. Really thinking about, there's a lot of ways to use that microgravity environment to advance those types of technologies through research, and then also potentially manufacturing these types of products in space. And if you go to the next slide, again, more types of industries. So marine outdoors, is one thing I'll touch on here on this side is sustainability. So obviously many companies now are thinking that's a big function, a big factor that we see pretty much every major it's a Fortune 500 type company. They have a sustainability officer. They focus on that. So the space environment also can really help you look at solving big global problems utilizing that space environment. We talked about the microgravity, but also utilizing space for big data, for gathering large data sets of looking at energy usage, pollution levels, contamination, tracking, et cetera. Climate change obviously is a very hot topic nowadays. So getting big data in space about the environment, how that relates to sustainability is something we've seen startups utilize the space environment to do as well. So that's just a sample here. I know that I listed 6 different terrestrial industries on those slides, but there's also many, many more. I challenge anyone to find an industry on Earth that can't benefit, at least in some way, from going to space for research or manufacturing. So again, a lot of detail here. Feel free to go back and look at these in more detail, but there's a lot of applications no matter what industry you're in. So some examples here, I'm sure some of these company names and logos you recognize. All these companies did do some sort of research in space. You see these companies are not really aerospace companies. You see pharma companies on here. You see Procter and Gamble looking at household products. You see Goodyear tires. You see chemical companies, et cetera. So these companies all focused on those areas that they covered the last few slides. Some focused on sustainability. They all had a need to utilize the space environment. And there's a ton I could probably show 100 logos here. A lot of them would include startups, but obviously I wanted to show logos from companies, kind of brands, iconic brands that we all recognize. But there was a need for these companies to utilize the space environment. Some have really had important results. I'll point out a couple here. Procter and Gamble did get a few patents from their research to help make more long-lasting household products, so you don't have to toss them out as quick as you normally do. Merck used some of their research they did in space to help develop the Keytruda drug. You probably saw advertisements on that on TV, just to name a couple, and obviously some of the other pharma companies as well. So again, I could list a lot more logos here, big and small companies. But again, as you can see, these are not aerospace companies essentially. So there's a lot of need for all types of industry to do research in space. I know I've talked about that part a lot here, but we want to treat both those pathways equally. So obviously, if you are focused on an aerospace technology application for your company, by all means, those are just as important as these. So we want you we encourage both companies that focus on both those pathways to submit to the challenge. So, but again, this might not have been intuitive initially, so that's why I wanted to spend a little more time on this pathway. So if we go to the next slide. So I kind of talk about kind of the end game here. So if you are thinking about, oh, this is great, I'm a pharma company, I can go to space. There's a lot of infrastructure in place, both in people that can help develop your research, develop your payload that you might eventually want to fly to space, should you get initial funding to do this. And there's also platforms that will be able to host this type of work. I talked about the ISS now, but there's also other platforms. I list some of them here that will really be built to support next generation research and in-space manufacturing. So we really encourage you, if you are a company, just think about your science, how you would do it. If you are to kind of go down the process and explore through, if you're fortunate enough to win an award, or if you're just interested in general, there's that infrastructure, including infrastructure within the region that can help get your project to space. So there are enough experts in that part where they can focus on that. You can really focus on just your particular science or manufacturing or engineering process. And then the space experts can help translate that to a space environment. So we don't folks think it's so overwhelming. There's a lot of things in place to help you get your idea or your science or your experiment to space. All right, so that's kind of the overview of the two pathways. I'll get a little more to the logistics of the challenge. So we talk about eligibility, who is eligible, registered businesses within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We also encourage student groups and unaffiliated teams. In those cases, at least one of those members must be at a university in Pennsylvania or a resident. So you can have multi-state teams, but at least one member has to be within the state of Pennsylvania. But really, at the end of the day, we're looking for this to lead to formulation of business within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So that note on the bottom is very important. So we really want to use this challenge and utilize the award dollars from this to help really start next generation space technology and commercial R&D within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Additional eligibility requirements, I won't read them. You see them here. They're pretty basic and straightforward, what you would see on any type of challenge of the like, with U.S. citizen requirement, age, and background, not affiliated with certain organizations. So I'm not eligible based on the fourth bullet. But anyway, so I don't think there's anything too earth-shattering there. But again, all these will be available to review. So obviously the kickoff is today with the webinar. The business plan, which is kind of the first step, those are due January 17th. I'll get into how you can download that, et cetera. It's very straightforward. It's very segmented. I think there's word limits for every single section. So it'll make sure you kind of keep everything in spot, but it's really a very nice template that should be fairly straightforward. So after that date, we will have those business plans reviewed by a panel of judges. Shortly after that, finalists will be notified, and they will be invited to submit a pitch deck competition, then pitch at a pitch day about a month after that in mid-February. And shortly after the pitch day competition, this will all be done virtually, we will announce those winners shortly after that, so in the end of February. We are planning to award six awards, two $50,000 awards and four $25,000 awards. And as a bonus to the award, you will also get a membership to Keystone Space, and also, as we said earlier, access to to key stakeholders and investors to really help you do even more than just the award dollars. So just to highlight, I touched on the challenge here. You just kind of see a start to finish schedule. One thing I'll point out here, I think everything that I said on the previous slides here, but you see that second line, office hours. So we have mentors arranged to help you. Office hours will begin this coming Monday. So beginning December 9th through the time the business plan is due. We have a wide variety of experts. I think we have about 10 or 11 already registered and posted on the website. Then they will be made available for you to contact them. I'll show you how you do that, but you'll be able to set up time with them to talk about your project, what you want to do. They'll help guide you in certain ways. And our group of moderators has different areas of expertise. Some will focus more on the business side. Some will focus on the technical. So there are certain areas of the technical side. We have folks that are have a strong background in the aerospace technology. We also have folks that have experience in that microgravity research component across those different terrestrial industries. And some have some various experience across the board. So on the website, when you see these mentors, you will be able to see kind of their background, their summary, so you can look at who might be the best person or people for me to talk to based on where I'm struggling with, or what I need the most guidance on to help me formulate that best business plan. And then the last line on here, we will have an awards presentation with an investors day. That'll be in person, so more details to come on that, but that'll happen in the middle of March. So considering today is early December, this whole program is going to last just over 4 months. So it'll go quick for sure. So, but for now, everyone has, I guess, a little over 6 weeks to start formulating that business plan. So obviously take advantage of that because I'm sure with holiday breaks and travel, that January 17th date will be here before you know it. But obviously start thinking about it and start engaging with those mentors to help you get going in the right direction. So resources, I talked about the two main things. The one thing for now is that business plan template. It is on the website. It's just downloadable. The submission instructions are on the website as well. It's just an email submission. So again, we think it's broken down very straightforward. All the mentors have access to business plans. They can obviously work with you on specific sections you might be struggling with. And then if you are invited to submit, if you advance to stage 2, you will be able to download the pitch deck template. And again, same thing. The guide is certain slides will be very organized well to make it very straightforward in terms of what we need to see on each slide for that. So we put a lot of work making sure everything's straightforward. So hopefully that's the case once you all take a look at it. So those are the two main resources for now, but the main one is that business plan template. Talk about judging criteria. I know we talk about, obviously startups can mean, there's a wide range in terms of what size you are. We will not evaluate you based on how many grants you've already won if you're a 100-person startup, or if you've already generated a lot of revenue. You might just be a two-person group, a two-person team. That will not be a factor. We obviously will evaluate what you plan to do going forward, as you see with some of the bullets down the line, but where you are right now, that will not be part of the evaluation. We want to see people, all startups from all across, I guess, the spectrum who are interested in doing this, that want to participate in the challenge. And you can kind of see some of those other categories there. We obviously want to see what your plan is going forward. Specifically, how will your idea, how will your company grow and really grow the space industry in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania? We want to see, how do you plan to commercialize this? What's your plan going forward? What separates you from what's currently on the market, et cetera. And again, all these questions, all these criteria map to the business plan. So you will be able to kind of answer those questions in the business plan, which obviously matches up to this criteria. So we try to make it pretty a one-for-one thing. So hopefully it's straightforward there. I talked about the mentors already. Again, there's a link there, but also on the website, I think we have the bios and the links to the mentors who are available. Mentors prefer, I guess, to be contacted in different. Some have a direct calendar link. You can schedule time that they're available on their calendar. Some just prefer you email them. We left it up to them. So again, feel free to contact those mentors that mentors that you feel would be most appropriate to help you and start thinking about getting on their schedule. They will begin to be available. Some all might not be readily available on December 9th, but that's the window then we told them they could possibly be available. So obviously check their calendars and work with them to get a meeting with them as soon as possible. As we see going forward, this is a Commonwealth of Pennsylvania challenge in year one. Again, we're very thankful for DCED and IW to be partners with us, but we really want this to grow to be, obviously, as Keystone Space is a tri-state ecosystem, we want this to be a tri-state competition going forward. So we plan to grow this in coming iterations where we can have all three states be fully involved in this going forward. So that's important for us. But the way to do that is to really make this year's challenge as successful as possible and make Ohio and West Virginia really envious of Pennsylvania. So I think that's my last slide. Yep. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Zoe and we can start with questions.
Fantastic. And I'll kick off with a couple of questions here. And I just wanted to add the note that if you have any questions that we don't have the opportunity to address in the remaining time today, you're welcome to reach out to Keystone Space at any time. Our contact information is available on the webpage here, or you're able to scan the QR code that's available. You can also just send us an email at info@keystonespace.org. And again, as Jonathan mentioned a couple of times prior, we'll be sharing this recording as well. So if you didn't catch every juicy detail, you can certainly rewatch that recording, or you're welcome to review these slides when we share those after the fact as well. I'm going to transition things over to answering a couple of questions here. So if any questions pop up that you'd like addressed while we're on the call today, I would encourage you to take advantage of this time. And again, after the fact, feel free to reach out if we don't have the opportunity to get to your questions. So the first one that came through here was a great one to ask. So we talked a lot about startup groups, and they asked about, are small businesses also able to apply for the challenge? So businesses that are already somewhat established but are still young in their development, are they still able to apply for the challenge? And Jonathan, if you could take this one.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think it's really, we have it set up where it's really up to the business themselves. They feel the value of it. If they feel, the set of the award, the scope of the award, if they feel they can provide value, absolutely. Again, that kind of goes to both ends of that. When I talked about all ranges of the spectrum, which is why we're not really evaluating on what you've done so far. It's more what you plan to do. If you feel that this is relevant and you want to invest the time to do it, and it's the benefits of potentially being awarded if you are deemed a winner, it's worthwhile. Obviously, feel free to consider doing that. And
Another
actually, Zoe,
question.
can I ask the second question if you don't mind?
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
talked about a lot of logistic things. I think I got everything right, but I want to give you the opportunity to correct anything I might have missaid during my part of the presentation.
No, this is fantastic.
Okay,
This
good.
has
I just want to
gone,
make sure I
yeah,
didn't
no,
get anything
absolutely
backwards.
fantastic.
Okay, good.
I promise I would have cut you off if I noticed anything.
Okay, good.
One other question that came up that was actually related to this first one, but a little bit different. So it asked if it was possible for individual students to participate, or if it was required for those students to be in an established group.
I think that, I mean, if you want, it's a heavy lift for one person. a lot of times we've worked with startups in the past that are basically one person. They've gotten into be, they've turned out to be very, successful in what they did through these types of programs. So again, it really comes down to what's the lift, if you feel it's something you want to handle, you want to take on it as by yourself. Obviously, we're encouraging, people to work with mentors through this process, but again, it's really uh, a time and effort thing versus the value. So that's something that I can't answer, but that's something someone wants to do with their one person company. By all means, give it a shot.
Absolutely. And with that too, just to get a sense, Jonathan mentioned this earlier, but to get a sense of the kind of lift that he's referring to or the work that it would be if you do decide to apply as an individual student, both the business plan template and the pitch deck template are both available on the website right now. So you're welcome to review both of those now and get a sense of what exactly we're expecting from both of those. We did try to make this kind of a lower barrier to entry for a couple of reasons. One of those being this is a pilot program from Keystone Space's side. So we wanted to make sure that we were able to make this accessible to the state of Pennsylvania and non-restrictive of the groups that were participating. And as well as that too, as a small business ourselves, we certainly understand the barriers to entry in this industry and wanted to make sure that it was possible for all groups to have access to this really unique opportunity as well. And if you have any questions about that or want to discuss that any further, you're welcome to reach out to us and we're happy to provide a little bit more guidance or direct you to a mentor who might be able to help you in that process as well. A similar question along these same lines, there was a question about, is there a limit to the size of the team? Jonathan?
No, again, kind of works on the other side. So, obviously the award is the amount the award is. So if it's a big group and a group effort, obviously it's, if you're 10 people, the award doesn't factor amount by that much. So again, it's really a time and effort thing. So there's obviously benefits of having a large group, a small group on each side. So no, I don't see any issue with that.
Fantastic. Talking about a couple of the more specific opportunities, someone asked, would a tech startup dealing with logistics in the industry qualify for this opportunity?
I would think so if it relates to obviously that list I showed. But again, if there's a play for aerospace logistics, and obviously we're trying to grow the infrastructure, the space infrastructure in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So again, if this can do that, and obviously that would fit the scope, I don't see any reason why not.
Fantastic. And a similar question as well relating to a concept in particular. Someone asks, my concept is one that might be impractical and relatively expensive. Is it worth it to me to enter when I'm considering the budget of this concept would ultimately be substantial? I believe that this concept would help NASA and other space stations in the long run, but I am curious how interested Keystone Space would be in a rather expensive concept, although it meets your focus areas.
So, I mean, obviously, to get through this, we're talking about the business plan, the evaluation. I know, and especially some of the work that examples that I've shown here, these ideas to get them to space. Obviously, we have, these are big companies, but even still, requires some budget. So, I wouldn't let money, at least at this stage, kind of deter you. But I would also see, as you maybe work with a mentor on this, can you maybe bring it up in stages to where obviously that these are stepwise process with TRL raising and things of the like. So kind of see the whole map of how no matter what you develop, especially if it's usually bigger and more complicated, means more expensive, not necessarily. But as you kind of see it, your technology roadmap, your commercialization roadmap, maybe kind of see the steps that you can go where you can eventually get there and work maybe at the right pace, at the right stage of where you are. But if it's a good idea, NASA's going to be interested if it, so I wouldn't let price be too restrictive this early in where we are right now with this.
Absolutely too. And I'll add one other note on this, and this is just kind of a general note as well for applicants to consider that we do have two price points for awards. So for those that are awarded, you're either receiving $50,000 or $25,000. So we would ask that you would be prepared to receive either dollar amount, depending on obviously what your concept is or what your budget is. So we would ask some flexibility there, depending on what the actual award dollar amount and what the expectation would be. Obviously, we would love to give all of you $50,000. I would personally love to be able to do that. But with the limitations of this pilot year, that would be kind of an expectation for awardees to understand going into it as well. Another question here asked about how will Keystone Space be involved in helping the participating or the participants grow their businesses, including both winners and non-winners?
Sure. So we talk about obviously the benefits for being a winner, but going through the process, um, working with mentors. A lot of these mentors have ties to Keystone Space. Getting into that network, getting identified, getting on the radar in the region as an emerging startup, even if the one particular idea that you have maybe not be ready yet or for whatever reason, but getting involved in the network. And obviously Keystone Space is kind of that centralized hub. It's obviously has presence in Pennsylvania, but across the region as well. So, and the engagement we have with stakeholders, and also it'll help you engage with potential other funding opportunities. You advance your technology. So SBIR opportunities, STTR, NASA grants, national lab grants. We're really, one of the things that our organization focuses on is really trying to promote opportunities for research development, technology development in the region for all parties. So by kind of getting on the radar, getting on the map by going through this process, you're kind of a bigger player, if you will, in the ecosystem, and we can help you specifically with your needs and help you, find the right opportunity to grow your business, whatever it might be. So that's and that includes investors, et cetera, and the events that we have. So I think there's a lot of ways that we can help both the six winners and then also other participants who have good ideas, maybe just aren't quite there yet.
Absolutely. And one note I'll add to about the mentors as well. You'll see that the background for each of our mentors is provided on the web page that's available to you. That's also provided on this slide here. So you see that these mentors come from a variety of different backgrounds. I know Joyce mentioned a couple of the groups from IW that are participating. Keystone Space tapped on a lot of our partners and folks within our network as well. So there's really a variety of resources here that will be accessible to you throughout the duration of this challenge. I would really encourage you to take advantage of this as you're moving through the process, and reach out to the mentors that you think are a good fit for your specific needs as well. Whether that is assistance on the actual development of the business plan, or that's assistance on the technical details or questions related to that, or obviously questions of relevance or otherwise. We're here to provide resources and support to you. We want this to be an opportunity for you to participate. We don't want this to be, another challenging opportunity for you to navigate. So please, at any time, feel free to reach out for any questions or anything related to this. We do want to provide you with as much support and resources to be successful as possible. The next two questions, or there's kind of two questions that I will take actually, and if you want to jump in, Jonathan, you're welcome to. So one of those was, when do you see this challenge becoming a full tri-state program? For us, we'd love for this to be a full tri-state program in the coming years for this program. Really, this first year is a pilot program, so we're using this to first do kind of a test bed for the opportunity and the interest in this overall. So we'd really love for this opportunity to become a tri-state program, obviously with Keystone Space's tri-state mission, as soon as possible. So we'd love to do that at the end of 2025, 2026 even. We would look to you for the folks that aren't based in Pennsylvania or are located in Ohio or West Virginia or looking to invest in those areas for your support in that. Obviously, funding support is what makes that possible. And Keystone Space is working a lot of opportunities to make that more accessible to the tri-state. So if you have interest in this and you're based in Ohio and West Virginia, let us know. That would certainly help our opportunities as we reach out to new folks. I will express ultimately again and again and again how grateful we are to DCED for investing in this opportunity and making this possible. I know that they see a fantastic vision within the state of Pennsylvania and the Commonwealth overall, and would love to see similar enthusiasm come from Ohio and West Virginia. So if you have notes, comments, questions about that coming from the other states, please feel free to share those. I'd love to talk to you, further about that and make sure that we can make that opportunity accessible to you as soon as possible. And then another question, also kind of related to locality, is there an opportunity for participants from outside of Pennsylvania to apply? Jonathan, I'll give you this one.
Yep. So we talked about that, I think, on one of the slides where yes, but you obviously want to partner with a member, someone is a resident or who attends a Pennsylvania-based university. But again, even if you aren't, the main goal of this is the team that you're on is with the intention of establishing your company, your idea to grow the space industry in Pennsylvania. So yes, with partnership from someone from the state of Pennsylvania.
Okay. Fantastic. And there was one particular question that gave a specific example related to this that I was hoping you were able to answer. It asks if the company is based in Pennsylvania but registered in Delaware, would they be, or I'm sorry, registered as a Delaware C Corp, would they be eligible to participate?
I believe so.
Fantastic. Let's see what else we've got here.
There's
We
a lot
do
of
have
companies that aren't based in Pennsylvania, that are based in other states that are Delaware Corp. So I think we're good there. Yeah.
fantastic. A question related to mentors, particularly. I know a couple of the mentors personally. Should I make sure to pick from those I do not know?
No, it's up to you. We want you to get the best, if you are contesting, we want you to get the best business plan possible. So if you feel they can help you the best, by all means. If someone else might be have a better background, obviously feel free to go to them too. But no, there's no, utilize them as your resources the best way you see fit.
And absolutely would encourage you if you have other mentors that you're working with on this initiative or similar, or you just trust in general, would also encourage you, just as an aside from the challenge, to take advantage of those resources as well. This is by no means restricted just to the mentors and coaches that we make accessible to you. Would absolutely encourage you to tap on any resources or folks that you know that could make your submission more enticing.
Yep. Good point for sure.
And then another question related to mentors, is there a limit to how many mentors a team can meet with as they begin to prepare the business plan?
I would say it's kind of like going to Thanksgiving line, get your first, maybe not, don't block every single person's time off, maybe set up time for someone. And then I think too, as you meet with these mentors, I would hope that they say, hey, come back, set up another time. Let's talk a little bit more. But I would say, don't understand there'll be a lot, maybe block off, a little bit, set up one meeting, but then as time goes on, maybe in the coming days and people aren't taking advantage of it, if you want to go meet with somebody else and they have availability, go to it. So you used to want your mother to smack your hand when you go for thirds before everybody's had seconds. So that's my
And I
opinion.
love the analogy. Thank you for that. Very timely, especially after last week. And I would like to add, another note to that as well. Again, as I mentioned before, a lot of the mentors' backgrounds, well, all of the mentors' backgrounds are also provided on the website. So I would encourage you to make the most of your time and their time and meet with the mentors whose backgrounds most align with your needs. Like I mentioned before, if your needs are more aligned with business support or technical support, I would encourage you to explore the mentors that have those particular backgrounds rather than just kind of hitting everybody for the sake of talking to everybody.
And obviously, if you know people on your own that can be mentors and you want to spend all day, every day with them on your own, that's obviously fine for sure.
Fantastic. A little bit, a couple questions came through about the award dollars themselves. So someone asked, is the prize money non-dilutive?
I think it is, or no?
I would say so as well.
Okay.
I will, if you're able to share your contact information, I can review the eligibility requirements as they're explicitly stated and get back to you on that one in particular too. And then another similar question, folks asked, is this a capital match program? Do you need to provide a one-to-one match for every grant dollar provided?
Nope.
No, it is not. Exactly. That's what makes this a really exciting opportunity is this is not a match requirement for you. So you do not have to provide $50,000 to get $50,000, which makes this hopefully all the more enticing and appetizing to the folks who are interested in participating. I've said it probably 3 times now, and I'll say it again. We're really looking to reduce your barriers to entry in this industry and understand that oftentimes providing those dollars up front can be that barrier to entry. So we are looking to make this an opportunity where you are not already required to have the money in pocket. Let's see. There was a question on, will you share who the judges are and will you be providing a judging rubric?
In terms of judges, I think that will happen eventually, but it'll happen closer to the pitch competition. Obviously, we'll be very regimented in who we select as judges, who we have as judges, to make sure there's no conflict of interest with any participating teams. The rubrics will basically follow what we showed on that slide early, but in terms of we get into closer to the actual weights and percentages, those will be for the pitch competition, at least we can work with those with finalists, et cetera. But I think right now, those just following those categories for the business plan, or those criteria, which are sort of incorporated into the business plan, the template, that should be hopefully a good guide.
And one other note that I'll add to that as well is I would encourage you not to tailor your business plan or your application to the backgrounding or the preference that you think that the judges have. So I would really encourage you to go with your goals or your project that you think will be most successful, sustainable, and provide the greatest opportunity, not will just be most likely to win this challenge. So I would just like to put that caveat in there. We're really looking for groups that can have the chance to exceed and excel in this industry and want to support you in doing so. So I would not encourage you necessarily to just try to make the best pitch for our specific panel of judges. It looks like those are all the questions that we've received for right now. We can hang on for just a moment or so and see if anyone else has any that they'd like to add while we've got the kind of last 10 minutes or so. But otherwise, in the meantime, I would like to say thank you again to all the folks for joining us on the call today. We will be sharing the slides as well as the recording to this session here shortly after, so please keep an eye out on that. Would really encourage everyone to share this opportunity as you see fit for folks who might be interested, and we're always here for any questions that you might have. Again, more information is available on the challenge at this website that you see on the slide here, and you're always welcome to reach out with questions. Again, that email is info@keystonespace.org. And it looks like we've got one other question that came through. They asked if this is a fixed award or a cost reimbursement. And this is a, oh, go ahead, Jonathan.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is a fixed award, so this is not a cost reimbursement award. Thank you for that question. Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you again, folks, for the time today. Again, please feel free to reach out if any other questions pop up, and we look forward to seeing the submissions that come through. Have a good one, everyone.